Welcome to this Nightmare mode Polaris run. This is shot from the tank's perspective, so I'll be going through the tanking mechanics. Anytime that you get penetrated in here, you'll get 2 stacks of bleed, which you'll be able to see on my party frames. The more stacks of bleed you have, the more likely you are to get penetrated. So if you don't have much block, make sure you bring someone with a cleanse. First boss has Deep Calling, Mjolnir's Echo and Charged Hack. Deep Calling is a fairly long cast and can be interrupted by just running behind him. Mjolnir's Echo is an aggro dump and so needs to be impaired. Deep and Charged Hack hits very hard and so you may need to pop a defensive cooldown. If Deep Calling goes off, then it will also aggro drop, so it's best to just run behind him whenever he casts it. It's a nice quick fight if you've got high DPS. If you don't have high DPS, make sure that you've got enough impairs so that you're not going to run out. If you're using Chaos, then the pods are a useful time to be able to generate some resources before you go into the next fight. If you're using a melee weapon which auto-regens its resources, then you don't need to terribly worry about it.
Being blocked, even though a pen's like 600.
Okay, second boss, Blarblane Sorceress. She has Death Squall and Tide Wall. Neither of these are vital to impair. Death Squall is a persistent ground target AoE, which frankly you can either impair or let her cast it and move out of it. Tide Wall is a reflective shield, absorption shield rather. It doesn't reflect anything. What am I on about? If you've got decent DPS, just burn straight through it. If you are worried about your DPS, get someone to bring a purge. As you can see here, she melts pretty quickly. Which takes us on to boss 3, who is the Varangian. The Varangian has Deep Calling, Mjolnir's Echo and Charged Hack, just like the first boss. But this guy's Deep Calling, you cannot impair it just by running behind it. It's a full 360 AoE that you will need to get out of, or it will knock you back, drop hate, and it will run over and either kill your highest DPS or your healer. So it's best to jump out of it and then just run straight back in. You don't need to worry about impairing it. Just like the Jarl, the only ability that you actually need to worry about impairing is Mjolnir's Echo. Now this boss will periodically dive down into the water and summon some adds, so you want to make sure that you're standing on the same side of the boss as your group, because otherwise all of the adds are going to run for the healer and you're going to be playing catch up. So here we go. You'll know that you're in the right spot when you can't actually run any further forwards. He will then land and you can start smacking him. So there's Mjolnir's Echo, which was impaired. Here's a Charged Hack, which is about to do a load of damage, and there's Deep Calling. So you just get out of it, and there are the adds. Now this is a high DPS group, so your group may well take longer. He's going to dive down several times, dictated by his health, and then he will leave this AoE where he's going to come up. So you just run over and be ready to start hitting him again as soon as it re-emerges. So I'm on the wrong side of him here for when adds turn up, so I've moved back around, and here are the adds. One of them got away, so I'm just able to nip over and smack him as well. I tend to get penetrated more by the adds than the boss. I've no idea why. And here's me going, oh, I'm using slightly the wrong build. But anyway, it's a nice simple fight. Only one thing to really worry about impairing. If your healer isn't too hot or your defenses aren't too high, then you can actually use something like Rocket Jump to get out of the way of Charged Hack. You'll get 2 waves of 3 adds when he's running back to his second phase position.
How many? I'll give you those violence.
So try to make sure that you're not too far ahead or behind your group, because it's really embarrassing when you lose someone at this phase.
It's you.
So adds are all down, and
What are you worried about?
this point in the fight is pulled by proximity. So if you get DPS rocket jumping over, then he may actually pull early. Just something to be aware of. He electrifies the water here, so I'm dumbly standing in it. You can avoid that just by standing up on the crate. I was waiting for him to cast a Charged Hack, because you can use the crate to outdistance Charged Hack. Bit of a cheat, but c'est la vie. Otherwise,
That's
just
a bit sad when I come.
same as the first part, just impair Mjolnir's Echo. And now I'm changing back to my proper build, which didn't load fully. As you can see, I'm pen tanking for this. So, get Sprint on, make sure that everyone in the group has Sprint on, and then you're just going to run straight through all of these adds. No point in fighting them.
You are in the right build.
You'll want Art of War for the next fight.
I'll put C.
Not for the defensive cooldown, but the 5-second forced aggro. It's one of the lovely things about Art of War. So just run through, make sure that you go first, and that way any adds will be hitting you. The Haugbui Mother. Corrupted Slam and Aversion. Was it Corpulent Slam? Corpulent Slam. She's going to do that pretty much as soon as you pull. So have an impair nice and ready, because what you want to do is you want to impair that first cast so that you can drag her over to the correct position as quickly as you can. There's the cast, there's it impaired, and now I'm dragging her. You drag her over to where the bomb adds will be walking in, which is actually next to the exit, so that you can pick them up before they again start going for your ad, for your healer and your DPS. Another Corpulent Slam. This is Aversion. It's going to summon 3 adds, which is when we want to be using, there we go, Art of War. These adds have a evade buff on them, so that's why you want a clean up or some form of purge for this boss. If you got that purge, they go down, as you saw, really quickly. If you don't, they are a pain. So we're now moving on towards boss 5. Really just a good opportunity to kill some stuff and let your cooldowns cool down. You can kill everything on the way, or you can take the slightly more direct route. Most people take the direct route. Once you know it's there, really. So my cooldowns are up, and as soon as I've killed these mobs, I am going to switch to using Stunning Swirl instead of Art of War, because it has a shorter cooldown. And yep, I'm putting my 3rd impair on. I probably won't need 3 impairs, but it's better to have 3 impairs and not need them. Important abilities: Psychic Death Zone and Tide Wall. Psychic Death Zone is the biggie. Tide Wall is more important if you don't have terribly high DPS. Psychic Death Zone, if it goes off, will knock back anyone in the area and potentially put the boss into an invulnerable mode where he's also going to call adds. You'll get waves of bomb adds coming in, which will go for the DPS and healer, and they have an unfortunate snare on them before they explode. As soon as the boss hits 50%, he will no longer be calling those bombs, though. So we're getting just normal seizure. It's a chain, so make sure you don't have any DPS standing next to you. Just burn him as hard as you can. We've actually just lost, I think that was the healer going down. But as you can see, I've popped a leech potion. That was a Psychic Death Zone. Made sure to impair that. Another Psychic Death Zone. He's really loving those Psychic Death Zones, because here's another one. And as you can see, he melts fairly quickly if you've got high DPS. if you hit the point where you have 3 stacks of Rising Vigor, or you run out of impairs, just move out of Psychic Death Zone, and then stand back on the crate again whilst his shield is up and there are loads of ads coming. The healer has to take care of themselves as far as the ads are concerned. You do not want to be off of the crate when he reactivates, otherwise he is likely to nuke one of the DPS or the healer, and it's going to be a wipe. So, I've tweaked my build around again for the Erddraug, and I like to use Art of War for the Forced Glance aspect, because he has Cleave, Cosmic Gaze, Slam, and he dives down and does a Bubbles ability, which you may well remember. The Bubbles ability will hinder you, so it helps if someone has some form of cleanse. I use Trucker to get an additional block buff, and I've decided to stick on an extra bit of hit point gear, just because Erddraug hits pretty damn hard. I've got Crack on, which has Whiplash and Binding in it to up DPS. In terms of impairing stuff, you don't actually have to impair anything on this fight. The only thing that you really need to worry about is if you get penned too often, then getting penned by Erddraug really, really hurts. And so I've got Art of War, and I'm using that on just a normal cleave, because that means that both that and the next 2 cleaves will glance. Cosmic Gaze does almost no damage. There's no point in impairing it. You actually lose time for your healer by impairing Cosmic Gaze, because then you go back to far harder hitting cleaves. Try to use your Whip and Crack whenever it's off of cooldown, so that you give the party the damage buff. And yeah, just burn him. Don't stand in Slam. Just move out to the side, and then when it goes off, you just move straight back to where you were. Cosmic Gaze has a knockback, so you don't want to be standing out in the open. That's his dive, and then we all hide behind the pillar in the little bit which is clear, and then that's Bubbles. We've had a win-win straight away to get rid of the hinder, which is nice. And then as the tank, I find it best to nip back in here, because then when he does Cosmic Gaze, he's not looking at the DPS, he's just looking at me. So he's now blown up the pillars, and everyone is going to burn him, and he dies nice and fast. It's a lovely little fight. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you have lots of success in fighting through Polaris as a tank yourself.